guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you for joining me, guys. Hopefully you're doing well given the circumstances of the world right now. Staying occupied both physically and mentally, hopefully more physically than I am, because I'll tell you what, I've mentioned this before here on the channel, but no, gym has really thrown a wrench into my whole daily habits and routines. Struggling to try to keep the diet on check right now, on point I should say, but hopefully you guys are doing better than I am. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the 10 best healers in the game, non-legendary. I'll do a separate list of legendary healers. There's a lot of epic and rare support healers in the game. This is a very, very difficult list to make, so I want to start with 4 quick honorable mentions. I'm not going to show you all the champions and go over all their kits, but I do want to give a big shout out to Painkeeper, a Dark Elf Void rare champion, to Reliquary Tender, she is a High Elf Void champion, War Priest, who is a Sacred Order rare champion, and to Adriel, a Sacred Order epic champion. Now let's go ahead and move on to the top 10 healers, non-legendary, inside Raid Shadow Legends. Alright guys, so starting out with Vrask here. Before I get to the Vrask kit, just quick kind of information, a disclaimer about how I aggregated these champions for this list is I did a lot of research. If you're new here to the channel, you'll know I never make a guide on a champion that I do not own, I haven't maxed out, and I haven't played with extensively, because otherwise, how am I going to know how good they are without, how am I going to know the multipliers on the damage without actually taking them into, in a dungeon or whatnot and trying them out with different gear sets, different masteries, etc. Anyway, on this list, I've aggregated these champions based on their heal ability, kind of weighted heavier, and then the rest of their kit also factored in, just not as heavy as their heal ability. And Vrask is right at the top of this list as one of the best healers inside the entire game. Put him in Relentless gear. This guy's insane. His A1 has a champion, fills his champion's turn meter by 20% if the attack is critical. Of course, it's always going to be critical with Vrask. You're going to be building him out with 100% crit rate. Lightning Strike is a pretty hard hitting for a support champion. On the A2, attacks one enemy on a 3-turn cooldown based on HP, his damage. Now his passive is what makes him so great. Heals all allies by 10% of his max HP, his meaning Vrask, when he inflicts a critical hit. That's insane. You build him up with a ton of HP, 100% crit rate, and he's going to keep your whole team healed, especially if you have him built with speed too. So when you're building Vrask, HP, speed, and crit rate, and then you have yourself just a tremendous healer on your team. Next up is Steel Skull. Steel Skull is a champion that I actually have, but I have not maxed out, and I can't wait to do so. He's great in Clan Boss. Well, he's really just great everywhere, and boy, does the big fella look kind of, nice nipple rings, I guess, right? Anyway, on his A1 here, he has just a regular chance, or 10% chance, 35% chance when he is booked up of placing a strong 5% version of poison for 2 turns. That's why he's great for Clan Boss too. And look at this heal, guys. Cleansing Spell, right? On a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Removes all debuffs from a target ally and then heals them by 40%. That's a great heal ability in his kit. And then on top of that, he has an increased defense on all allies and heals all allies by 20% of their max HP. Steel Skull is just a tremendous healer in this game. One of the best ones actually in the epic category. Next up is Mistress of Hymns. Mistress of Hymns, Sacred Order. She's a Spirit Affinity champion, and there she goes, just flexing for us, twirling that sword. She's got a cool look about her. I like this champion a lot because she has a revival ability, which I'm weighting pretty heavily here too, on top of just her heal. On her A1, she has attack one enemy, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the damage inflicted. This is a great ability for an A1, right? Rare do you get a heal on the A1, Bad Alcazar. There's not that many champions that I can think of that have that built-in heal on the ally with the lowest HP. Just a nice little pick-me-up in between getting her main heal off, which is on her A2. Song of Triumph attacks one enemy and then places a 15% continuous heal buff on the 2 allies with the lowest HP for 2 turns if the attack is critical. That's great on a 3-turn cooldown again when she is booked out. And then she has the Revival. Revives 2 random allies with 50% HP and a Veil buff on them for 1 turn on a 5-turn cooldown. This is actually a really solid revival too, kind of completing her kit as like an ultimate epic support champion in Mistress of Hymns. Next up is Fenestella, a champion that I have done a guide on here on the channel. Fenestella is a high elf force affinity champion. He's a great healer, a great increased defense champion to have on your squad, okay? Attacks one enemy, chance of placing asleep, whatever, on the A1. It's all about his A2. Oak Skinned is a great ability, and that's his main ability that you're looking for in terms of support on your Fenestella. Has a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Heals all allies by 25% of this champion's max HP. That's what you're looking for. So you can build your Fenestella with a ton of HP. It's going to be healing your other champions by like 50% or more of their HP because it's based off of Fenestellas. Plus you get that increased defense. This is a great, one of the better epic abilities inside the entire game of Raid Shadow Legends on his A3. He has to decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn on an AoE. Not a bad skill either. And then resist in dungeons by 70. One of maybe the fewer, well, there's not that many champions in the epic category with resist in dungeons, so you have that in Fenestella's kit as well. Next up is Mother Superior, who is a rare champion, Sacred Order. Man, Sacred Order, they have a lot of great healers and support, as the Sacred Order name would kind of indicate. So she has a great kit, Mother Superior, guys. If you haven't checked her out for a rare champion, I don't think I talk enough about Mother Superior here on the channel, honestly. I'm sure some of you guys who have her know how good she can be. First of all, her aura, there's not many, I can't think of, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but I can't think of many rare champions with an aura increase ally speed in all battles, okay? Granted, only 13%, but still, all battle speed is a rare aura to have, especially on a rare champion. Anyway, on the A1, decrease attack, chance, whatever, not bad, right? Heals an ally with 30% by 30% of this champion's max HP, and then places a shield buff equal to any surplus heals for 2 turns if the target is fully healed. Not bad on a 3-turn cooldown. And then she's got the Brim of Life. This is what really adds to her kit. This is a great ability on a 4-turn cooldown. A 7.5 continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns, and then places a shield buff equal to 10% of that target's HP on all allies for 2 turns if an ally's HP is full. So not bad having the continuous heal / shield ability on the A3 mixed with just the sheer heal based on our max HP on the A2, all in a rare kit. It's definitely a really solid rare champion. Let's stick with Sacred Order as we move on to Cardinal, who is a Void Epic champion. So here's Cardinal sporting the, you know, the little red riding hood. She's grown up to be a warrior, or a support warrior at that at least. Evaporation on the A1, attacks 1 enemy, has a 10% chance of placing that poison debuff. The strong version for 2 turns can be booked up to a 20% chance. Heals a target ally by 30% of their max HP, places 60% increased defense buff for 2 turns as well. Really solid, and then the reason she's on the list here is really that heal plus the redemption. Revives all dead allies, heals them by 25% of their max HP, and then boosts their turn meter to max. It's a game-changing ability right there on a 5-turn cooldown in redemption from your Cardinal. She's a really solid champion. Another one that we don't really talk a ton about here on the channel, but she's a great support. Next up is Sonesta. Sonesta is a Knight Revenant, Force Affinity champion, and she's great because she can also put out a decent amount of damage. She has an AoE here on her A1, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies with less than 50% HP. That could be a nice kind of final blow sometimes, especially in the arena. Sonesta is an old school OG champion who a lot of people absolutely love in this game. You can see on the A2, attacks 1 enemy, puts the target's skills on cooldown, and then, on top of all that, on a 3-turn cooldown, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 25%. Sign me up. Great ability. And here's the Immortality ability on a 5-turn cooldown. Equalizes the HP of all allies. The HP level of all allies will be brought up to the level of the allies with the highest HP. This heals that target ally by 10% of, heals that target ally by 10% of their max HP. This is one of the stronger heals in the game. All you need is 1 champion with a lot of HP. Everybody else gets boosted up to that level, and then that champion gets an additional 10% heal. It's a great heal ability in an already impressive kit here. She has an HP in Faction Crypts as her aura as well. That's Sonesta. Next up is another player favorite. It's Doom Priest, another Force Affinity Knight Revenant champion. You can see very high scores on her reviews here. Let's go ahead and take a look at her kit. Attacks one enemy if the hit is critical, places a crit rate random buff, on 2 allies at random. There we go. Can I speak? Probably not today. On a 3-turn cooldown, plays a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. It's kind of a meh ability. It's not awful, but it's, there's better champions for increased attack and also, hitting the targets, the enemies. But here it is, Bolster. Her passive is what she's known for, guys. If you're not familiar with Doom Priest, it's all in the Bolster. Heals all allies by 7.5% of their HP and removes 1 random debuff from them at the start of her turn. Every single time. It's an AoE 7.5% heal and cleanser, 1 random debuff at the start of every one of Doom Priest's turns. It's a great ability. It's one of the more famous abilities inside this game. Just a great champion overall. She also puts out a pretty decent amount of damage here on her A1, but she's really just known for her passive. Her passive and the increased attack that she lands on all of your allies. Well. I am a content creator who, one thing about this channel that I have to mention is I'm gonna make mistakes, right? I've not been playing Raid Shadow Legends since its release, and one of the things that I pride myself on is if I include a champion in error, like Skytouch Shaman, I put her on my worst epic champion list, right? And a bunch of you guys in the comments informed me, and I pinned the comment. When I make an error, I try to correct it, right? And here's my redemption story for Skytouch Shaman. You know what? I'll take a look. I don't own her. I took a look at her kit. I took a look at, you should never look at the reviews. They're baloney. They're not worth anything. But I saw that people who own her are not overly impressed. I did a quick Reddit search of her. Saw people kind of just, crapping all over her abilities. But hey, it turns out she's an end game top tier healer, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at her kit. Attacks all enemies, heals by 15% of the damage inflicted if this champion has less than 50% HP, boosts this champion's turn meter by 20% instead if this champion has 50% HP or higher, so a heal here on Talon Knives for A1, and then removes all debuffs from all allies, places a revive on death buff and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns, a great cleanser on a 4-turn cooldown when booked, and then Bloodstain Ritual. Damages this champion, damages herself by 10% of their max HP at the start of every turn. Heals all allies except this champion equal to half of the lost HP. Places decreased speed buff on herself. Also has a 50-50 shot of placing a fear debuff on herself for 1 turn. The thing is, though, is I focus too much on the negative. She's placing a fear and a decreased speed on herself. Like, what's up with that, right? But man, shame on me for not actually asking around a little bit more before including her on my worst champions list. This is an incredible heal ability. Not only is she healing on her A1, if she has less than 50% HP, to herself, of course, but then this Bloodstain Ritual, one of the best heals in the game, 10% off of herself. She can get that back on her A1 by healing herself if she has less than 50% HP, right? Follow me here. And then she's healing all the allies by 30% of the HP lost. You build her out with a ton of HP, and she's going to be healing every single turn by a dramatic amount, even more than Doom Priest, even more than Vrask. She's a great healer to consider if you have Skytouch Shaman. I stand corrected. I'm eating crow. Literally, she kind of looks like a crow. And did you think I was going to leave the guy on the thumbnail off the list? Of course not. Apothecary, his heal is good. It can crit. So heals a target ally by 35% of their HP. Just a great ability, right? And this heal can be critical. It's great. It's a great heal. It's a great single target heal in the game. But of course, I'm including him not just for the Soothing Chant ability, but also for the Boon of Speed. He is the only, or the best, I should say, not the only, but the best rare speed booster in the game with the increased speed and the turn meter fill on a 3-turn cooldown. Just a great ability in Boon of Speed, and add the Soothing Chant to his kit. He's going to be healing and speeding up your team. Really, you can't go wrong with Apothecary, even into the end game inside Raid Shadow Legends. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably use Apothecary if you're lucky enough to own him. So there you go, guys. There you have it. That's my list of the top 10 non-legendary healers inside Raid Shadow Legends. Do you you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me why I'm dumb in the comments below, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching my content. And as always, take care, guys.